I've got some things burning on my heart from yesterday, and I just wanted to share them, especially after last night. I woke up yesterday morning, and part of my devotions in my prayer time was John 11. John 11 is the resurrection of Lazarus. And then we had service, and the Holy Spirit poured himself out on the whole service. I didn't even preach. There was one point before service when my devotional reading and what the Lord was telling me in prayer, I actually thought I would share that instead of my message. It turned out that I didn't even preach because of how the Lord came in. I went home. We had a 1 hour break between the meeting we were going to have as a congregation, and I caught a snippet of a little post that Jim Goal, he's an intercessor, he posted something about the resurrection of Lazarus. Now, mind you, what was in my spirit, I don't know if it has anything to do with the election. I've never given any kind of prophetic word about who would be the winner or anything like that. I did a short video on YouTube on Tish B'Av a few months ago on what America could look like if a Democratic candidate came into office and what that could mean for Israel. But I've never given any kind of prophetic word, even though I have stood ground on what I believe to be the right course of action and responsibility as a believer, and where we should place our responsibility on the issues. That being said, I went, did the meeting. We came back after doing an immersion baptism, and it was already later in the evening after we had finished eating, and I was about to go to sleep, and someone sent me a post by Dr. Michael Brown, and I love Dr. Michael Brown, but he wrote a post, and I will post the link for it here in the description box. His post was on John 11 and the resurrection of Lazarus, and that really caught my attention because 3 times in the same day here I get this chapter verse, and he was talking about some things to do with the election. Now, as I said, I don't know if what the Lord gave to me has anything to do with the election. It was more of a personalized nature. What happens is Yeshua, Jesus, he gets news that Lazarus is sick. He gives a word to Martha and Mary that the sickness would not end in death, stays where he is 2 more days. Lazarus dies. He goes back to Bethany, and what happens is he plainly tells the disciples Lazarus is dead, and he is dead. So Mary and Martha, the house of Lazarus has gotten this word that Lazarus would not die, and he winds up dying. Yeshua comes, and Martha tells him, if you had been here, this would not have happened. But Yeshua tells her, your brother will live again. And she tells him something that is theologically accurate and is a hope for future fulfillment. She says, yes, I know he's going to live again. So her theology was correct. Her hope was in the right place. It was in the future. And then Yeshua says this. He says, he who believes in me shall never die. He says, I'm the resurrection and the life, and I'm paraphrasing it. What he does is he takes the concept of that future hope and fulfillment and puts it on himself. And then he tells her, do you believe? And she says, yes, I believe that you are. She gives a affirmation of his messianic office. Now, back in that time, they were not expecting the Messiah to die. But the very fact that Yeshua says, do you believe, speaks towards something that isn't just concerning future hope and future fulfillment. There was this internalized possessing of that hope. In other words, we often think of our hope and our fulfillment of what God says to us to be in the future. And Yeshua says, no, 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 it's now. So there is hope in our present situation, no matter what apparent death we may see or what apparent letdown. There is future hope, but there is also present hope. And of course, there was a death. There was going through the Messiah himself that Martha had to reckon. She had to have that internalized possession of Messiah in herself. But she didn't realize that that was going to happen through a death in her life because the Messiah had to die. And here was the hope, the messianic hope that was going to be revealed through a death in her own life. Be encouraged with this today. I don't know if this has anything to do with the election. Another thing that was pressing on me is the Lord woke both my wife and I up at 2:30 in the morning at the same time. And we just had this strong sense to pray. We prayed for about an hour and then went to sleep. Let me preface what I'm about to say next. I had a dream, and when I became a believer at almost the age of 19, it was it was it was common to really believe in a pre-tribulation rapture. As I grew in the faith and as I studied my Bible for the past 20 years, I have not been a proponent of a pre-tribulation rapture. I am not dogmatically against a pre-tribulation rapture. I don't have a dogmatic position either way because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how prophecy is going to unfold. One time the Lord said to me in prayer when I was 21, I didn't come back. I didn't come the first time the way everyone expected. I'm not going to come back the second time the way everyone expects. And with that, I will say that I had a dream last night where I was in the house looking out the window. There was the sky, and the sky was beginning to change. As the sky was beginning to change, I saw the heavens open, and I saw the Lord, and I saw all these strange creatures, the way you read about in Revelation, these strange creatures around him. There were other believers around me, and they began to go up into the air. And as they got into midair, there was this brilliant light and glory that they began to emit. It was like it was coming out of them, like they didn't become it, but it came out of them, and so they looked like lights going up into the sky, and they were, of course, being raptured. I don't know the timing of this. All I know is that as I'm watching this, I'm lifting my hands up and I'm saying, Lord, Yeshua, Jesus, what about me? Do I get to go too? And all of a sudden I realized I'm lifting off the ground. And this was the most noticeable thing to me. It was the most vivid thing in this dream. As I'm going up, I'm looking at my hands and my arms. And as I'm going up, I'm realizing that my body is becoming clear like glass. And I can see through myself, in effect. Not translucent, but I could see the form of my body, but I looked, it was like looking through glass. That's the only way I could put it. It was like looking through glass. And then I woke up. I don't know what to do with this. Obviously, I don't know what to do with this dream. All I can say is that as God's people, we need to be prepared for the return of the Lord. And whether or not things go back to normal or things get worse, we know that when the world says peace and safety, sudden destruction comes, and we know the Lord will come like a thief in the night. All I know is that our hearts should burn. Our eyes should be on the skies. We should continually be looking for the return of our Messiah.